So there's this song by Lawrence Cole called Let Us See the Beauty. And so, yeah, how would you guys like to divide in terms of, how about if you five sing the first piece and you guys try to do the second piece? Are you up for it? We'll try. All right. Okay. So I need to be, do you think anyone listens to this recording? Should I be up here? Okay, so I'm going to sing the first part through, and you guys just learn. Okay, it goes like this. And Greg is going to play. So this part goes. Oh, we got the lyrics? Are the lyrics on the next page, I think? Yeah, hold on. Yes, they're there. Okay, so, oh, there's not, it's parts 1 and 4. It's just part 1. Don't worry about it. So it goes like this. Let us see the beauty every day, and the source of life from its presence. Do you want to do that, Lord? Let us see the beauty every day, and the source of life from its presence. See the beauty every day, and the source of life from its presence. I want and see the beauty and see all and see the all. I want to, if you can see the beauty, even it's not pretty day. I want to, you can see the beauty and so you love it. Its presence, I want, if you can see the beauty, even though it's not pretty every day. I want to know if you can see the beauty, and so in life, its presence, see the beauty every day, and so love.
Hello. How loud is too loud? My name is Liz Goodger, and I am the president of the Comox Valley Unitarian Fellowship Board for now, until the AGM. And I have the honor to welcome you here today. We welcome people of all identities, including all races, ethnicities, gender identities, sexualities, abilities, and economic backgrounds. We value diversity and believe it strengthens us and our community. we invite you to bring your whole self here. I also want to recognize that we are meeting here on this beautiful land that for thousands of years was occupied and continues to be occupied by Indigenous people. We acknowledge that we meet here on the traditional territory of the Satlut, Pentlach, and Aixen of the Comox First Nation.
And I will share the opening words. If Liz, maybe you could light the chalice there in the room. The opening words today is, in the soft light of this flame. In the soft light of this flame, may we see life anew. May the supposedly real seem less solid. May the inevitable reveal its carefully concealed cracks. It's all made of pieces and parts, friends, each of them longing to be rearranged. Or maybe it's a story, and the pen is in our hands.
I just want to quickly introduce this song. This is a song from the hymnal, singing the living tradition. And it's by a favorite poet of mine, Rabindranath Tagore. And I looked for a recording online, and they're terrible. What I should say is they really don't bring out the creative vision that I have for this song. So I asked my 16-year-old, who's really, really into building electronic music on his computer, to help me out with this. So this is the song coming up, or the words are there. Oh, yeah. And this is the song, the words. You don't have to sing. Please don't sing. It's going to go crazy. That starts out at church and it ends up at a rave. But if you feel like getting up and dancing by the end, because there was a certain part where I said to my 16-year-old, do it this way. And then there was a certain part where I said, yeah, and now just send it, like take it wherever you want it to go. So that's the part where you might feel like getting up and dancing. Have fun.
There are no restraints in your love. Let me add my own among them. Then when you smite your core,
Yeah. That was the world premiere of the Kestrel So Kill Karen remix. Wow. And I really, for me, that's part of the nature of creativity is like it's that co-creation and that playfulness, and you don't know exactly where it's going to go.
What were the instruments?
No actual instruments were touched during the making of that song. It was all on the computer. Yeah, on a very expensive piece of software that he managed to pirate from some other kid.
So you're saying that song is actually legal?
No, not at all. No, the kids are just sharing. That's a good thing, right?
You could post that online.
Yeah, we might. Because I think it's better than the other.
I think we could all use it. The entire hymnal.
Yeah, hey?
It's fun.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. I agree. Like it brought it up to
do we want the young people in? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And now when I hear that song, I feel like, yeah. All right. So I have a story for you. Do you guys still want the story? Yeah. Okay. This is a story called The Lion and the Little Red Bird. Can I take the microphone so I can look at the...
Hang on. This is not our mic stand. Yeah, hold on. Hold on.
Oh, very carefully turn it on.
Oh. Oh, yes. Rip it out. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Check. All right, this is a story that I read my kids. In fact, I told my 28-year-old in on it. She said, oh, is that the one where the bird takes out the thorn? Yes, that. So here we go. One afternoon, a little red bird saw a lion with a bushy green tail, as green as the forest. The bird had never seen anything so unusual and so pretty. Just looking at it made her happy. Lion, lion, she said, why is your tail so green? The lion didn't understand the bird's language. He thought she was simply chirping. He smiled at her and wandered down to a field of orange flowers. The bird watched him roll and sniff and chase butterflies, and then slowly walk west with the setting sun and disappear into a cave. The bird waited on a tree nearby. She wanted to see the lion's green tail again, but the lion did not come out of the cave. So the bird made herself a soft nest and slept through the warm, starry night. In the morning, the lion came out, swishing his tail, which was no longer green, but orange as a flower, orange as a butterfly, orange as the setting sun. Lion, lion, chirped the bird, astonished. Why is your tail so orange? Again, the lion did not understand the bird. He smiled at her and climbed over the hill and up the mountain to a deep blue lake beneath a bright blue sky, where he soaked his tired paws while the birds splashed nearby. I love that picture. At the end of the day, the lion climbed back down the mountain, over the hill, and home to his cave. The bird settled down in the tree, wondering as the sky darkened about the lion and his orange tail. But in the morning, the lion's tail was no longer orange. It was blue as the brightest blue sky, blue as the deep mountain lake where he'd soaked his paws. The bird chirped, enchanted. How did your tail change from orange to blue? Are you a magician? The lion just smiled and ambled over to a bush full of shiny red berries. They were beautiful berries, but very sour. Lion, the bird chirped, making a face. Those berries are still too sour to eat. Won't you pick them while they're ripe? The lion just smiled, thinking how much he liked the bird's chirping company. All afternoon, the lion picked berries, while the bird nibbled sunflower seeds nearby. Once, when the lion stepped on a thorn, the bird pulled it out for him.
At sundown, the lion swished his tail goodbye and returned to his cave. The bird settled down in her nest. She wondered what color the lion's tail would be in the morning. She wished he would answer her questions. During the night, a storm came. Thunder crashed and lightning flashed. Rain swept away the bird's nest. Hearing the noise, the lion rushed out and reached up into the tree where the bird crouched, shivering and scared. He lifted her down and carried her into his cave. The cave was warm and colorful. The walls were filled with pictures of green forests, orange flowers, butterflies, sunsets, a bright blue sky, and a deep blue lake. The bird chirped, delighted. How did these pictures get here? The lion smiled, dipped his tail into a bowl of shiny red berry juice, and painted a picture of the bird chirping on a berry bush. The bird sang while the lion painted. She sang a song without any questions, full of color and joy. The lion had never heard anything so unusual and so pretty. Just listening made him happy. In the morning, the storm was past. The world shone fresh and bright. The lion's tail was berry red, and the little bird knew why. She sang her happiest song and wondered what the lion would paint that.
Those are good.
I'm going to shut this off again and do that. And we don't have any children to sing up. So let's do that. I've got this.
Good. There you go.
Oh, hey. Hey, are you guys ready for this? We're going to sing and dance. Okay, so because, why are we going to do this? Because improvisation is a very critical element of creativity. So we're going to improvise dance. So a few people know this song, May Your Life Be As a Song. It's a Russian folk song with words rewritten by Jim Scott. And it's in the Living Tradition book. And it was sung as a circle dance at the Merville Yule for 38 years. But we're going to make up our own dance. So first, I think I'd like to ask us to push back the chairs and make a circle. If you're up for that, it's going to be a very gentle dance, and if not, you can stay seated.
Want people to grab cake?
No, too much going on at once.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, that's lovely. So first, let's learn the song, and then we'll stop the song, and then we'll figure out the dance. Okay. So first. May your love be as a song, resounding with the dawn to sing on the light, and softly say, stars in the night. May your love be as a song, resounding with the dawn to sing on the light, and softly say, the stars and that's fantastic. That's why we did that one. Okay, so we need 4 dance moves. So let me give you some examples. Here's a dance move. It's called walking. Another one is the grapevine. This is the grapevine backwards. So step and step behind and step behind. Another one would be halftime, which is right. We could go in for 4 and out for 4. We could turn. We could step kick. You know, what do you guys want to do? Turn that off. Set that out of the way. What do you think?
So we have what do we call this? The
Who made a big house?
Who made a big house? Made a big house. Okay, we're not gonna put that in. Well, we'll choose the order after. There's one that's a great one. Anyone else have a great? What's another great dance? You could like the grapevine? Yeah. Okay. So let's keep going that direction. So step behind, step behind, step behind. Let's do it again. Behind. We got a grapevine and tomato big house. Tomato big house. So then. Are you ready? Step kick in. How about step kick in? Four and
Square it.
and put the finger in for the way out. How about that? We can do that. All right, excellent. And one more. How about a turn? How about a turn? I love it. That's what I was hoping for. Okay, so let's put this in this way. Let's put it, start with the grapevine, like start gentle. Let's go, let's keep going, keep going clockwise, not speaking to anyone. So let's go. 1 and 2, and 1, 2. Okay, that's like you gotta change the lyrics. So it's like you gotta go stay like the other song and then find an end to go. And then we'll do the final space. Okay, so it's why? Marvin, you gotta top that. Next, Marvin will give us a short reflection on creativity.
All right.
Oh, I wish I had either the courage or the brain cells to do this off the cuff, but I don't dare. one thing I'd ramble too long, and the other thing I'd forget what I was going to say. So I've written it down, and I apologize for that. This emerged because when we welcomed Aaron to our midst, he was given a bowl, and the bowl was made from a tulip tree that came from George and Maryland's strata. And I turned the bowl under the lathe. And it was because of that that Aaron asked me if I would give a few comments on spirituality and creativity, and as it comes to me through wood. So I've called this Holy Spirit is in the wood. Oh yeah, I'll refer to that as we go on a little bit. Every time I walk in Filbert Park in Comox, I go to visit a certain London plane tree that's down near the lodge. And it has a sign on it because I and the 6 other members of my little writing tribe have sponsored, or we've adopted that tree. And we paid a bit of money to provide for some of its care. Whenever Nina and I walk in through Seal Bay or Puddledge Park, we marvel at the stately firs, some of which have been there for 80 and 100 years, and the magnificent cedars whose kin have often been used in the past by the First Nations to make canoes or the totems that tell the family stories. And when we walk in the woods of Morrison Creek, my eyes and my mind are drawn to the gorgeous big leaf maples that are through that forest, so gnarly and twisted, with the many burrows in it that represent the survival response that these trees have had to injury or viruses or fungus. And that bowl is another example, which actually, in fact, that wood came from Seal Bay Park, where we found a log in the woods, and that's been attacked by a fungus. There is such aliveness among the trees this time of year, and when I'm with them, I experience and I wonder about their experience, what their lives have been like. And I've been delighted to learn some of the research that's going on currently about the demonstration of the ways in which plant life can be acting purposefully. And some of the evidence that was reported earlier has been downplayed a little bit, and people are saying, well, maybe it's not quite a rigorous science. But here's an example that was a rigorous science. One repeated study found that young French beans of a climbing bean consistently chose to travel in a direction toward a stake that was placed 30 centimeters away. And they repeated this experiment again and again. It never went any other direction, but always to that stake. They have no eyes that we know of. And yet they grow in that same direction again and again. And we've all heard, I presume, of how trees share nourishment with one another, and of the so-called dead stump that was fed and cared for by its neighbors and kept alive, even though it had no leaves with which to provide nourishment. Now, does this mean that these plants, that these trees are conscious? Well, it's a big leap. But I think a bit arrogant of us naked apes, that because we read and write books and compose music and write poems, that we are the only conscious beings. And that question aside for the moment, I do experience the spirit of trees. I know from my experience that within the bark of these trees lies some of the finest of nature's own artistry, and which we can do no better with at times. Sometimes it's a burl, and some of you have seen burls that are worth a growth outside of the tree, and that often have shiny bumps on them, or a bird's eye pattern inside the wood. Maples are very strong with this, and variations of color. Sometimes it's spalting in the wood, like that bull that went around with the graceful tracings of black throughout the grain. And sometimes it's an inclusion of bark that goes inside the wood, and the wood grows around the bark. Sometimes it's a streak of red or green, and there was green in the heart of that tree that came from your place, the tulip tree wood. Thank you. So I'm filled with compassion and gratitude when I know that such beauty has resulted from insult and injury that the trees have experienced. And so I want to become a part of that, of releasing that beauty, of sitting with the wood, sometimes for months or even years. Sometimes I've had some of this wood sit around until it reveals to me what it would show to the world. And then I may turn a bowl or create something with driftwood and glass, or make a birdhouse, or some of the white birches make a wonderful birdhouse if you hollow them out, and the birds seem to love it. And each piece of wood that I have worked with has its own character. Gary oak, for example, is strong and heavy, musky smelling, and hiding within itself the lustrous rays that emanate from its core. And the big leaf maples are firm and forgiving, with strongly marked growth rings, which really brighten out when you finish them. Native birch that we have, which is the brown birch, not the white birch. They are soft and smooth and softly brown, and finish with a lustrous finish when you polish them. The wood in freshly cut alder is orange when it's freshly cut and lies on the ground, and then it settles down into a mid-brown as it dries, unless it's spalted like that one. The wood in the native fruit trees, the apples and the pears, or cherry or plum, are very hard, and they're subject to cracking if you don't dry them with care. And I also already mentioned the tulip tree wood from George and Marilyn's place. Yellow cedar is an enchanting friend with an aroma that I enjoy, but which the clothes moths do not enjoy. Red cedar can be dark and straight-grained or streaky and gnarled. And yew wood makes beautiful cutting boards or graceful tongs, which we regularly use in our house to take the bread or bagels out of the toaster so we don't burn our fingers. Mm-hmm. Old growth fir can have the most gorgeous tight grain of any wood that I know of. It has taken often 100 or more years to form that very tight and hard grain. Cherry wood, of which I have some that's been drying now for 15 years, can be dark or light, and either of them finishes to a sensuous smoothness that just needs to be touched. And a pebbly burl. I must often admit that there's nothing that can be done to improve the nature of that wood that can improve the artistry. The music composer, Alan Hovness, contemporary composer, has written a beautiful tone piece. It's about 22 minutes long, called The Spirit of Trees. And this is what he said about it. The spirit of each tree can speak to those who listen, sometimes with words, but often in the hum of its existence, the vibration of its life force, which connects with roots, with the tip of its branches. These giant beings are willing communicators as friends of the earth, friends of souls, and guardians of our planetary atmosphere.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Marvin, for your musing of like co-creation with the trees. Lovely. The next thing is a video that I found about a woman who paints what she hears.
Started painting music just because I would try to explain synesthesia so many times. It never quite made as much sense to describe it verbally. So I thought it would be best just to put it on canvas just because I've always been an artist. And it made it much easier for people to be able to understand it. My name is Melissa McCracken, and I am a synesthetic artist. Synesthesia is a neurological condition where your brain is basically cross-wired, so certain stimuli will come in and it'll create the wrong response in my brain. So for me, that's listening to music and it's translated into color in my head. I'm going to paint Superstition by Stevie Wonder. I love the song Superstition just because it's dynamic and funky and just fun and expressive. Whenever I start a piece, I have to listen to the song first to even know what kind of colors I'd like to use. There are some songs that I hate that I like the way that they look a little bit. Like a lot of pop music can be pink and purple and, you know, just all these fun, bright colors, but the song's not that good. So one or the other, I appreciate it somehow. You know, you kind of really have to be in the right vibe to be able to paint. If you're not in the right vibe, you're not gonna make anything good. I think the prettiest genre of music is jazz music. I love blues and golds and whites, and it just seems very pearly and iridescent a little bit. When I listened to Etta James at last, the thing that stuck out most to me was just her voice at the very beginning when she goes into the at last. At last. And it's just a very bright but also warm sort of feeling. Very kind of classic jazzy, which jazz music generally has a very gold and blue sort of look to it. Music has always been a very big part of my life. My older brother is very musical, and when I think back of him playing the guitar for me, I think of the colors of what those memories are. I was always a little disappointed because I was never very musically inclined. It was really cool to have a way to bring music into, you know, my life in a different sort of way.
So you all know the routine for the joys and concerns. What comes next? So you want to come up here, and you probably don't have to share your names with those, because we all know one another. But by all means, share your joy.
What do you hear?
And if there's any that comes in over the, you'll pay attention for those. If anybody sends one from the birth.
I wanted to ask a question. Christine brought something for us to share that she had created, and I wonder where the space to share that is in the service.
What do we do? What do we
Like
do?
now is a joy? Yeah. I look now as a joy.
Right now.
Okay. Yeah, Christy, take it away.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to go to Vancouver for the funeral, which is next Friday. So I created a memory board, which is 2 feet by 3 feet, and it's just pictures of my stepmom, and I made it. Oh, this is the wrong one. Sorry, there's one missing. It's just pictures of my stepmom throughout her life. Unfortunately, the one that's missing is the only one that's her as with her siblings as children. I either had sort of a baby and then sort of 20s and then 60s and older. So I didn't have a lot to there's not a lot of variety, but the one that really pulls on my heartstrings is the one kind of in the center. It's next to them on the cruise, and underneath my dad leaning her back on their wedding day to kiss her. But that is her brother who's still alive, and he came to see her in the hospice. And that's them just with their heads together. And yeah, it's just find it very moving. And the yellow rose down in the right-hand corner, she belonged to sorority Beta Sigma Phi, and their thing is a yellow rose. And yeah, just it was very emotional making it, but I'm glad that I will be there via Zoom, and I will be giving a eulogy, but I won't be there physically, but at least something I created will be there physically, because my sister will take it over there, and it's been printed off. It's been printed off, so that's that. And it's so wonderful to be here and see everybody.
Thank you, Chrissy. Your piece is really creative, and when we let our eyes just roam around the pattern that you've made and following the different times and experiences of this person's life. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you for letting me.
George, do you want to share about the piece you brought?
Exactly. Actually, the next report is a short story. It's too long to read. Okay. More of a comment. Like Marvin was saying, people are wondering whether trees are conscious. I think that's not the question we should be asking. We should be asking if human beings are conscious first. Once we determine that maybe we're conscious, then we can start asking even. Get it. Rather than the whole story, I'll just read the ending.
Okay.
Circle on the floor, George.
So the story is it's a fictional story about when I was 11, meeting a woman from the East Coast, and I was a farm boy in Ontario. And I was fascinated by her stories of the ocean and all that was involved there. So I never saw Ruby again after that summer, and I had no idea how the rest of her life turned out. But I bought my first sailboat 14 years later, racing naked, and I spent the next 12 years racing almost every weekend. 39 years later, that fascination with the ocean led to traveling halfway across the country to Vancouver Island to live there in its presence. And 3 years after that, I bought a whale watching company. I wonder, how often does it happen that a person like Ruby comes into a person's life, plants a seed, and then each go their own separate ways without either being aware of the full significance over time of what grew because their paths crossed.
Right.
Plants and trees, and I'm sure this of the grapevine that grows in my backyard, which it grows every year. I'm wishing for grapes. It would just be the garden grapes, just little wee green ones. I just want some grapes. And it grows everywhere. It climbs up the fence, climbs up every tree it can get to. And even though I cut it back every fall, I still don't get any grapes. But here's what I want to mention. So it grows up, climbs along a tree, and it's got a tendril sticking out like this. And like from about here to the table is a big maple tree. Now this tendril, the grapevine, is going to try to get over to that tree. And my question is, how the hell does the vine know that there's even a tree there? And how does it get the energy, the courage, to stick itself way out into the air like that? Nothing to support it. And it must be, it's easily that distance. I would just marvel, sit there and just wonder how the hell, you got a brain somewhere, right? Because it knows there's a tree there. It knows if it's on that tree, can't cover it, right? That's my shame.
Doing that just to amaze that human.
I've seen online stop motion pictures where the vine actually does this. I want to share something.
Hey.
I want to share this painting I made. I don't really paint. I have always felt really like my like I do music. I've done drama, but I always felt like my visual art's very Dr. Seussy, and so I never really liked it. But this is inspired because Jay and I got to go back to Middle Natch Island this year. We hadn't been for 3 years, I think. I'm gonna pass this around. This is the tidal pools at Middle Natch Island. So Middle Natch Island, it's this bird sanctuary in the Georgia Strait, and it's a very tiny island, about maybe 2 acres, like it's maybe 4, like it's very tiny. And I can only stay there as a volunteer park warden. And so while we were there, we had these really arduous jobs. Like one was doing an intertidal survey, which was kind of hard, actually, clambering over the rocks for a couple hours and finding things and writing down, and counting the flowers. That was really hard. It was so lovely just to be so far away in a place where you're like, what's that motor? Right? Because you only hear like maybe 3 or 4 planes a day, maybe a boat comes into view. Like it's such a place to connect with nature. And I was thinking about how art, because I've been talking with Erin about this session, like how art is a way to express, it's a way to process your experiences and express them. And I'll tell you more about when it's my reflection time to how I did that, but I was expressing the tidal pool experience.
I got something, and okay. The thing I brought is something that I didn't make the component parts for, but I did put it together. It is a necklace, and it's got 2 goddess figures on hanging from a chain. And the first one dates back to when I was a member of a Wiccan women's group, which went for a good 20 years and disbanded because of a falling out between two of the members, and that was always quite sad for me. One of them, the figures, was something we all got. I can't remember exactly the circumstances, but all the members had one, this goddess figure, and I had put mine on a chain. And then after the group disbanded, I felt sad because it was as if myself and the figure were both alone. And then I believe it was 2018 for International Women's Day, there was an event, and there were these goddess figures that were different. This one, it's like it has a corn for a skirt. So I got that and I put it on the necklace with my other one, so she wouldn't be alone. So now I have two goddess necklaces, and I might not have my group anymore, but I have my memories of it, and I have my goddess figure as a friend.
I'm Barbara, and I have both the joy and the concern. I'll give you the concerns first. This past week, both a 14-year-old in Vancouver and a 15-year-old in Duncan were murdered because they were Indigenous. And it continues to go on and on and on. My joy is that within that community, people are leaving behind alcohol, they're leaving behind drugs, and coming together to grieve together and show a remarkable unity of spirit and re-engender smiles, even in the face of such loss.
Barbara, would you put a phone for me to?
And it's more a comment on trees and plant life. I really do believe that it's maybe not like our consciousness, but the trees and the plants, they all have an energy. And it has been proven that when one tree dies or is cut, all the trees around them are affected in grief, really. And they have effects. You know, they won't grow for a while, they wilt. So the communication is really, really strong. And the connection with the mycelium mushrooms is very important. It can go for hundreds of kilometers, connecting trees. And they say that without the mushrooms and the mycelium, trees would actually not exist. And I don't know who it was who was mentioning beans, but I belong to an intention group, which I've been in for quite a number of years. A science journalist in England did a lot of work with intention, and especially in large groups, to intend for health for certain people, or peace in a certain area, or any particular concern. And when they first started, they were working with scientists. They wanted it evidence-based, really scientific, to be able to get to the science community. And they took, I think it was 8, I don't know what kind of beans, 8 beans, planted them, and 8 other beans, the same species. And then they got a group of 50 people, I don't know how many it was, to send good energy and good intention to this one group of beings, but not to the other. Of course, the beings didn't know which. And it was very, I think the intention was very clear that this group of beans would germinate 2 days faster than the other group, and that they would grow so many meters, not meters, but centimeters or inches higher and stronger. So the intention has to be really specific. And it was surprising, it actually did work. So, you know, they sent love and energy and intention. And they did this for several days until it was proven that the beans had germinated and grown much faster. So I think it really illustrates how we are all connected, and spreading love and good energy and good emotions does reach all over the world. We don't have to be together to make a big difference. So, and I for a specific joy, I was really had a really beautiful day yesterday because my daughter and I went to plant and art festival at Kittycommon Park, Woodland Gardens. It was so beautiful. The road in entrance. It was very meaningful to me to go with my daughter because often she's not really into doing much. So it was really nice to put a stone in for her and for the beans and for the
One stone, because we don't always express our joys and concerns aloud to one another, are those that we carry with us in our hearts. And you should know that the caring and love of this community goes with you wherever you go.
We have another song now. And this is a very simple song. It's a call and response song. And it talks all about singing and all the different ways that that singing can have meaning, right? And it can have purpose. So I will sing you the first verse. And you will see how it goes. And then I'll tell you what's next.
Okay, do you want the video played?
Oh no, I just want the lyrics up. Okay, thank you very much. So here, I'll just do the first verse. How shall we come together? We shall come together singing. When shall we come together? We shall come together now. It's pretty straightforward, okay? So I'll ask the questions, you answer them. And it's always, the answer is always sing. How shall we come together? We shall come together. When shall we come together? We shall come together now. How shall we hold the suffering? We shall hold the suffering, singing. When shall we hold the suffering? We shall hold the suffering now. How shall we light the darkness? We shall light the darkness, saying, when shall we light the darkness? We shall light the darkness now. How shall we teach the children? We shall teach the children. When shall we teach the children? We shall teach the children now. And how shall we rise above it? We will rise above it, singing. When shall we rise above it? We shall rise above it. How shall we come together? We shall come together, singing. When shall we come together? We shall come together now. Thank you. The artist who wrote that is Maggie Wheeler. And the songs that I brought that are not Unitarian songs, I brought them from the Work That Reconnects canon, if you want to call it that. So that's the Joanna Macy stuff. I get to have a little reflection. I notice that we're like running really late. And I feel like I'll try and keep it really short. I feel like I got to say a lot because I chose so many of the songs and thought about so many pieces, and but I do want to say, I was really excited to work on this service because I asked Erin, what is this all about anyway? And Erin said, well, I guess the questions are, how does creativity make space for the sacred? And how does creativity allow us to live a more authentic life, more true to our values? And I was like, well, yeah. That's because it feels so integral in my life. It's certainly like the whole basis of my career. I'm a creative arts therapist. Like, that's what I do. Like, I make space for what I think is sacredness, which is all that, it's that playfulness, that room for the unknown to enter. And yeah. What else do I want to say? So I feel like creativity, like as the songs I chose pointed out, it lets us see the beauty of the world and to process that, like to take it in and process that and sort of own that. It lets us build community, like that last song, how shall we come together? How shall we work on this? What shall we teach? How shall we survive this? It lets us be part of the universe unfolding, because the universe unfolds in this unexpected way, and creativity is the way that we do that. So, yeah, I guess you saw the painting, to ask me about it later. But what I do also want to share quickly is something that has been a source of meaning for me lately. Has been to reconnect with my ancestors. And that's been, I'm Ukrainian in heritage, but it started before the war started, but it certainly intensified my desire to connect with my ancestors. And I've got two vests up here. I'm just gonna get them and show them. So while I had COVID, I embroidered this vest for myself. It's a traditional Western Ukrainian mountains Hutsol vest. And I made one 35 years ago for my first boyfriend, who is the father of two of my children, and my kids say, he's still wearing it. And when I finally got around to making it for myself, I was like, well, yeah, like this is so comfortable. The originals were sheepskin. But so what I think I found this new art form, and this is my partner's, and theirs is a cedar tree. And so actually I had to, like, I went out into the neighborhood and I took pictures of the cedar trees and the sunflowers and the echinacea, and then I figured out how I was going to do that. Wow. It was so it was like neurons.
And you gotta look at that cedar tree, it has the moss on it.
It passed me
Just
around.
like,
Yeah, the moss.
yeah, that's a moss.
Yeah, theirs is wild, mine's the garden. Anyway, so that's, yeah, so connecting with the ancestors as well. That's what I wanted to say about creativity. That's how it is making space for the sacred, making space to connect ancestors and descendants. I got another project for the descendants and nature, yeah, connections all around. Do we keep going?
Why not?
Yeah.
Everybody good?
If anybody needs to leave, you can leave. Still here. Okay. So we have this ambitious project. It's a percussion song. Because, why? Because percussion is a way for people to join in together without words. And with, So if we had had a whole group and we'd had a whole choir, we'd have the choir singing and then everybody else playing, but no. So what we're gonna do with this fire is, we have percussion that goes along with the words. There's 3 parts to the words, and Greg is gonna lead some people who wanna drum and sing low. Barbara is gonna lead some people who wanna sing mid, and I'll show you the percussion piece. And then I will jump in and sing the 3rd part so that I don't have to teach it. But if you have a high voice, you're welcome to join with me.
The 3rd part works really well with shakers.
Yeah.
So, because you just have to like shake.
So, because we're running short on time, what I'd like to do is I'm just going to start, and I'll teach the parts as they go. Got the words up? Excellent. So the first one is, you need the bass drum going. This fire is the power of kindness and gratitude. This fire is the power of love and forgiveness. This fire is the power of kindness and gratitude. This fire is the power of love and forgiveness. This fire is the power of kindness and gratitude.
Love you, guys.
Thank you. You too.
That was awesome. So, writer Constance Grady shared, when I lost my father last spring, I was surprised to find that grief made me crave beauty. Movies had taught me that when faced with real grief, beautiful things became pale, petty, and pointless. But that wasn't how it was for me. It was May then, and a week after my father died, my mother and I went to the Arboretum to breathe air that wasn't from the hospital. The lilacs were in bloom, the roses were beginning to bud, and the trees were lush and green. We were still in shock, I think, and it was profound solace to stand in the middle of a garden looking at nothing but lovely things. I think beauty is going to be an important part of all of this, my mother said. When I read this, it really resonated with me. Though for me, it was not about real grief. I'm not even really sure what real grief means. But when I had a space to grieve, I found myself craving beauty. In my early life, my griefs were frequently pushed aside in struggles to survive. It was all a bit of a tangled up mess, I think, and maybe I felt more of that pale and pointless side of grief, but with moments of acute and overwhelming pain. There wasn't much beauty or time to seek it out or practice stopping to recognize it, even if it should happen to cross my path. Those griefs I unpacked slowly, much later, in a more diffused way, and perhaps in doing so, I made space for a noticing of and appreciation of beauty. Through therapy, meditation, and art, amongst other things, over time, I was able to heal and integrate those experiences to find a new way to relate to them that was more life-affirming. And having done that meant that when my grandfather died about a decade ago, I was in a really different emotional place. Though my grandfather was pretty old and not super healthy before he died, he was one of those kind of folks that seemed really old and not super healthy when I was a kid and had remained that way somewhat consistently over the decades. And sure, the last time I saw him, it was much harder for him to hear and he'd lost some weight, but the changes were minimal. Complications in my relationships with my family of origin meant that they didn't tell me when his health began to decline significantly or when he went to the hospital. I just got an email to let me know that he died. So although it wasn't unexpected in a big picture kind of way, it was still a surprise and kind of caught me off guard. When I got the email letting me know my grandfather died, I was also in a very different place geographically. I was in San Francisco. It was the first week in my trip from Toronto to the Bay Area for a few months to do research for my master's degree. It meant my time was significantly less structured than it might otherwise have been, and that was a gift. I bought myself a copy of a Buddhist book about grieving mindfully, and I decided I was going to be with my grief in a way that I had never been before. I was going to listen to it and do what it asked of me. And what it asked of me was frequently to seek beauty. It called me to the ocean many times, and several times as my breath began to match the rhythm of the waves in the bay, I felt it was breathing for me when I couldn't quite manage it on my own. I spent time in art galleries and meditation centers. My body took particular delight in noticing all of the signs of spring around me. As I cycled around the East Bay in the sunshine, I appreciated the contrast of the flowering trees against the blue skies and the smell of the jasmine in the warm air. This delight was perhaps intensified by reports of the polar vortexes that were happening in Toronto at the same time. I also began to be called to express the beauty creatively. I began experimenting with photography and drawing and writing again in ways that I hadn't done for years before. And I began to realize that it was not just my grandfather's physical health that had remained frozen in my mind. The picture I had of who he was had also remained stuck in the past. His death prompted me to realize my interactions with him contrasted greatly with the images of childhood that I'd carried with me. And looking back at my childhood impressions of him with adult eyes and the knowledge I'd gained about my family in the years in between, I was struck by a dramatic new perspective about who he was as a person. In his death, I was given the gift of seeing him as a full, complex human for the first time in my life, which was deeply inspiring for me and called me to be a better and braver person. Grieving for him was one of the most creative and spiritual, or maybe spiritually creative times in my life. It was when I truly realized how creativity can both be spiritual and healing. And it was beautiful. I invite you to reflect on how creativity has shown up in your life and how it's been part of your healing and or spiritual journey. And you're encouraged to share your reflections with someone over tea after the service. And now Marvin will introduce our sharing our resources.
There's not much more that needs to be said about that. We do share our resources in so many ways, and one of them is by sharing our financial resources for the support of this fellowship and its work in carrying on its mission, which we have agreed on. And as you all know, many of us support that with checkoffs at our bank, and sometimes there are other forms of offering that are made, and the ones that are not recorded for a tax receipt may go to support the work of the Dawn to Dawn. And we'll leave the things on the table at the back, and you can access them as you will in leaving. Thank you.
That is a picture of the time and talents form you can find on the website. If you think you can spare a little bit of time and want to do anything for CVUF, just anything. It doesn't have to be giant. You don't have to chair a committee. Just little things. That's how we build.
And we have finally made it to the end of our service today. And for closing words, I will share on the brink. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope. And a deeper joy in this life that we share.
Smaller circles, isn't it?
Yes.
Circle's definitely small. I'm glad. Thank you, Mia.
Great music.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Art.
Thanks for joining us on Zoom, Art and Christy. Go ahead, open your mic, say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, all. Thank you.
Beautiful heart collage, Christy.
Oh,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Really special.
It was really emotional making it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also a good journey too.
You spent that time with her. Yeah. Beautiful. Hi, Orange.
Hey, lovely to see you all.
Thank you, Heather.
Ah, you're welcome. I guess we should find a camera. Hold on. Hey.
See you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Hi, Erin.
Bye.
Hi, Christy.
I'll let you go. Oh, I loved the percussion and drumming. That was awesome.
Oh, more drumming. Yeah.
Ah,
Bye, guys.
okay. Go and socialize.
Okay, take care.
You too. Love you.
Love you guys.